morning, good afternoon, powerful agents. Welcome back to another session of our Real Success with Tom Ferry, your coach. I'm Bill Pipes, and wow, we have got such a great program for you today, and really one of my favorite guests and individuals that's involved with our company, Mr. Tom Toole, who I'm going to introduce to you here in just a second. As always, take a lot of notes. Listen to this time and time again, because there's going to be some jewels in here that you don't want to miss out on. You know what, as we're sort of looking at what's happening in the local real estate and the national real estate market, obviously we're noticing something. We're noticing that inventory is beginning to creep up a little bit. I'm hearing from multiple clients at seminars around the nation that, hey, my listings are sitting a little bit longer, my inventory is growing, my buyer's a little bit more skittish. What can I do, or what do I need to be prepared to do to be able to stay ahead of the market? You know, the great Wayne Gretzky said that the thing that made him such an incredible hockey player, made him the great one, right, was the fact that he skated to where the puck was going, not to where it was. I think you're going to find today, in the conversation and dialogue that we have with Tom, that there's some really valuable tools that Tom is an expert at, that if you implement it's going to keep you ahead of your local market. And really, while everyone else may be experiencing some challenges, you're going to be one of those that's really gaining market share and being able to move your business forward, and at the same time earn a lot more money and help a lot more people, which I know is what the game is. So let's get started. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Tom Toole. Tom, tell them a little bit about who you are, where you sell, and how they can get a hold of you, because I'm sure, you know, I mean, if I'm giving referrals to someone in Philadelphia, I know exactly where I want them to go, right? So I'll turn it over to you, man. Go for it.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Bill. I'm super excited to be here. My name's Tom Toole. I've been a Tom Ferry coaching client for a little over 3 years. My business is based out of the greater Philadelphia area. You can reach me at 610-692-6976. Check out my website. It's tomtoolewithane.com. And we're ready to rock it for you if you have anyone that might be moving into Philadelphia.
Good. Excellent, man. Hey, so a couple things. How long in the business? How many years have you been selling now?
13 years.
13 years. Awesome. Now, this last year, you had a pretty big, sizable increase with your coach, Carl Rizzuto. What's your production sort of been like leading up to this previous year, and then what was the big breakthrough? Like, what was the increase in numbers?
Sure. That's a really good question. I got into coaching because I saw my business plateauing a bit. I did well beforehand, and it was, you know, earning a living, all that was great, but I wanted something more and wanted to really grow more. So my first full year in coaching was 2012. I did 40 transactions, a little over 300,000 in GCI. That was 2011. 2012, we went to 55 deals and 350 nice. GCI.
Great.
And in 2013, this was the real breakthrough. We went to 80 transactions and 668,000 in GCI. Wow. So I almost doubled my business, or at least the money part, which is what really counts.
That is, yeah, how much you're keeping, man. And I know with your model, you're keeping a good portion of that, which is fantastic. So, I mean, obviously, I'm sitting here, I'm listening, and I'm looking at the increases. I mean, to go from 40 to 55, I mean, let's be very clear, that's almost a 50% increase in terms of your production. That's great from 11 to 12, and then obviously 12 to 13. So tell us about your business model. Tell us about the top 3 sources, because we're going to circle back around here and look at what facilitated those huge leaps in production. But first, I want to understand exactly how your business is structured, what the key sources are.
Sure. Well, before I got into coaching, it was a lot of database leads, my sphere of influence, people I know, and that's always going to be a great source for any agent. But I really wasn't diversified. When I got into coaching, we started working Expires a lot more aggressively. I trained myself with the scripts with Carl's help. You know, he knows exactly what to say and when to say it, and really taught me how to do that. Really strong with objection handling. And along with Expires, I work for sale by owners very diligently. And those are the clear top 3 sources in my business, no doubt about it.
So just to repeat, we got for sale by owners, right? You hit FSBOs, okay? You hit Expires, and what was the third?
My database, sphere of influence, people you know.
Excellent, man. Good. You know, it's so funny. I was leading a seminar down in San Diego, Tom. I think you and I were talking about this, and I asked in a room of 200 people in Del Mar. I said, "How many of you, would love to work expireds, okay, or work expireds?" In a room of 200, guess how many people raised their hand?
Maybe 5 or 6.
I had 2.
Yeah.
So I had to, and I look at this, and I'm reminded of something that Tom Ferry says. He says, if we're willing to do what others aren't willing to do right now, then we'll be willing to do in the future what they never can, right? So how do you work the expireds? Because I know there's a lot of people who are sitting out there, they're listening right now, they're saying, there aren't that many expireds in my marketplace. Although we know, Tom, you and I were talking about this, will there be more expireds in the future based upon what we're seeing in the market, do you think?
No doubt about it. 2013 was a great year for a lot of people, but the market's kind of returned to normal a bit, at least here in Philadelphia. And homes aren't selling in 3 days with 5 offers anymore. It's become a little more of a challenging market, and some sellers aren't going to get it right the first time around, and that's okay. I mean, the thing about expireds that I really like is, they're motivated because they already put their home on the market once, and they hired an agent. They didn't try the buy-owner route. The system I have in place is I get on the phone very early in the morning, start making calls at 8 a.m., and the first calls I make are the newly expired listings. I want to be the first person to reach them because I know that with the scripts I've been able to train myself with, thanks to my coach Carl and all the resources at Tom's company, I'll be able to ask the right questions to get an appointment. And that's all you're looking for on that call. It's not about getting the listing over the phone. That's impossible. But if you would you say that again, dude? Not to interrupt you, but that is so critical right there. Okay, what you just said, because we're gonna tear this whole expired thing like step by step, because I want everyone walking away from this ahead of the market, so to speak. So when you make that first initial call, are you always getting an appointment with them, or are you generating a lead? Like, what percentage of the time does it become an appointment from that initial call, and what percentage do you have to follow up on, do you think? 5% of the time, I'll get the appointment on the first call. 95% of the time, I'm following up with them. I try to get their email address. I ask them when's a good time to call back. They also get direct mail from me detailing how I've helped other people in their exact situation. Reviews from clients whose homes expired. Hey, I helped this person. I can do the same for you. It's a continuous process. It's not just making the call and getting the appointment right away, but if you put the right information in front of them and you know what to say and you keep following up, you're going to get the appointment. And that's all you're looking for on the call, just to schedule the appointment. So I'm looking at this, man. Number one, I've got to call the expired. I got to be one of the first people to call them, right? I got at 8 a.m. because if you're later, what happens? Like, if you're calling later, are you reaching people who are like, you're the 20th person to call me, you're the 15th person to call me? Is there resistance? I mean, what happens if you're calling later? You might get hung up on, which is okay. I'll call back if that happens, but some agents don't. They get sick of hearing from agents. I mean, you brought up the objections right there. Hey, you're the 15th or 20th agent that's called me. The home's off the market. They're not as open to engaging with you over the phone later in the day as if you were the first or second person to reach out to them. Brilliant. Okay, so number one, I'm going to call them at 8 a.m. Now, I know, Carl, you said something too here, Tom. You said scripts, that you and Carl practice the scripts. So do you follow pretty much the same script every single time? Like, I'm sure there's variants, but is it the same script? It's the same questions. There's no doubt about it. One of the first things Carl taught me was to internalize the script. So, here's the first question I'm going to ask. Here's the second question. Certainly you have to be able to adjust when you're in the conversation. But if you don't know the scripts, you're not going to get the right answers to get the appointment. And again, that's the only goal here, it's getting the appointment. You can't even really listen to them if you don't have the script down, right? Because you're busy thinking about, oh my gosh, what do I say next, right? I mean, that's what it seems like. It makes it more difficult. There's no doubt. Knowing the scripts and knowing what to ask them will enable any agent to determine if the prospect's even motivated or not. Awesome. Why they're moving. One of the second questions you ask is, where were you planning on moving to if the home sold? When I hear an answer like, I'm going to Florida, or my kids live across the state, that's when I go even harder for the appointment because there's some serious motivation there. And that tells me they're probably going to sell the home no matter what.
Love it. So how did you get, because, let's be very clear. There's probably some people listening that may never call expireds, right? And this whole conversation and dialogue about scripts, I think, still applies to any portion of the business, whether it's your listing presentation or whether it's your prospecting or lead follow-up. So what was the process that you went through to become sort of mastered? Because I'm sure right now I could say, give me your script, and you'd be able to go, like I'm sure you figured out your home came up on our computer. Whatever the dialogue is, you'd be able to rattle it off. How did you get to that point? What was the process to be able to be so masterful with the scripts and the dialogues that you're using, the questions that you're asking?
One of the big things Carl really pushed me to do, and I was definitely resistant when I started coaching, was to role play with other agents. If you're not practicing with other agents, and Tom said this a lot, I'm sure you've heard it, you're practicing on your clients, and that's not who you want to be practicing with. That's where the revenue comes from. So he was very big on getting me to role play with other agents that are in the coaching group, and that was a real big game changer for me. I never wanted to do it. I didn't like doing it, but it helped improve my skills so much that I could, as you said, I can give you the script right now, no hesitation, and I'll know exactly what questions to ask to schedule the appointment.
Brilliant.
And that was huge.
Brilliant. So do you market to the expireds? Do you send marketing pieces to them as well too? Because obviously we were talking about more of the sweat equity piece right now, which is picking up the phone, making calls. Do you support that, or and enhance your prospecting with marketing to the expireds?
Absolutely. When you send them a piece of mail, it's almost like a billboard because they're getting called by you, and the mail is supplementing what you're doing with the sweat equity end of the prospecting. So the system I have in place, it's a 9-touch system over a 2-month period, where as soon as the home comes off the market, if I don't connect with them, they'll have a very form letter that Carl and I worked on that details how I've helped other people whose homes expired and didn't sell with another agent. I attach 3 reviews from past clients whose homes didn't sell with another agent, and I put a little handwritten note on there. My assistant does all that, but it says something that this home was marketed by another agent for over 300 days. Once I was hired, it sold in 2 weeks. Let's talk. After they get that initial letter, they get 9 jumbo postcards from me with a picture of a home that I sold that was an expired listing, how many days it was on the market with another agent, a review or a testimonial from that client, and they'll get 4 of those in a row. So the first 5 days, they get 5 pieces of mail.
Wow.
Then they'll get another jumbo postcard once a week for another 5 weeks. So they really get hit hard with the mailing on top of me calling. So I know that I'm working it as hard as I can to get the appointment. Again, that's all I'm looking for here, is just to get in the door.
Nice. So awesome. So by the time that you call or by the time you talk to them, and let's say it's 2, 3, 4 days in, they've already been pinged a couple of times in the mail. And do you get them saying, "Oh, I've seen your stuff in the mail," or "I know who you are," or is it just mainly, sort of them going back to it? What do you notice from the marketing?
Sometimes you'll definitely get, "Hey, I've been getting your mail. We've been meaning to call you," or "I've been getting your mail. Stop mailing to me," which happens. But what it really does, if you're making the calls and supplementing with mail, it's the whole process. It's another way to follow up with somebody, and it keeps me top of mind. So when I call back again, and maybe they wanted a week or 2 break from the market, when I call back again and keep going after the appointment, a lot of other agents give up after that. You may get 1 or 2 nice pieces of mail from an agent. Most of them don't send 9. You may get 1 or 2 or 3 calls. Most of them don't call 5 or 6 or 7 times. So the follow-up is so key here, and I know Tom and you and Carl have said many times, the money's really in the follow-up. It's easy to make the first contact, but it's the continued contact that really helps me get in the door when other agents don't.
So question for you here. We've talked about sweat equity. We got the check equity piece here for the expireds, right? I look at one of the other key components, and you talked about follow-up, right? And let's dig into follow-up here for a second. How many days will you continue to call an expired if you're not getting a hold of them before you pull back a little bit? And how do you determine the point at which you pull back if they're not answering?
That's a good question, and that's something I struggled with, because I don't believe in giving up on a lead until they go list with somebody else, or you know that it's not going to happen. So after that initial system hits, and we've been calling and following up, that's going to span about 2 to 3 months sometimes. Then we'll put them on a 90-day follow-up. So every 90 days I'll be checking back in with these people. And they get put into an automated system in my CRM or database where I get the reminder. It has the notes, home expired on September 1st, mailing system complete, calls made on these dates. And that's another effective way to continue to follow up, because a lot of agents, they just don't do that. The old expireds, especially in the past year, year and a half, have been a really strong source of business because now the market's better. And maybe these people's homes didn't sell in 2008, 2009, 2010. Now the market's better and they're in a position where they can sell. So there's a point where you definitely have to turn it off, but I'll pull back and just really make it strictly a 90-day follow-up call after the mailing system's been complete.
Excellent, man. So the piece that I see is so critical, and I love listening to just your tenacity. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you're not going to let go. You're going to push. I mean, you're built for expireds, and I know also that anyone could actually have that success if they develop the right mindset. Because as Tom has always said, or I'll say, 90% of success is mindset. Before you even open up your mouth or say anything, it's what you're thinking. So what is the mindset, or what do you do to strengthen, develop the right attitude for success with the expired listings?
Step one is the affirmations in the morning. That's such a key thing for me. Something I didn't really do till I got into coaching, and even I stepped it up over the past year where I saw really that breakout in my business. Some examples are people are waiting by their phones to hear from me so that I can help them. If I dial for dollars every day, I'll help 130 families this year and make over $1 million. Those are things that Carl's helped me develop, and I've internalized them, and they've become part of my routine in the morning before I even get on the phone. And with the expired, certainly you get a lot of negative feedback from these people sometimes. They're ticked off, their home didn't sell. I can't really blame them. But if you come from a position of help and service and knowing that you're going to correct the situation for them, if you can get into the door, and that's the message you're sending, and that almost becomes part of your brand, I'm clear it really comes through over the phone when you talk to these people, and in the marketing pieces we develop.
Brilliant, man. I love what you just said. There's a little saying, and I'm sure you've heard it before, give up making the sell and focus on making a difference. And I could hear that. Like if it's all about you and getting the appointment and getting the sell, people can feel that, can't they? I mean, they can feel that on the other end of the line. They can feel sort of the selfishness. But you, in your dialogue, I think language tells a lot about a person. You said, how can I help this person? You know what I mean? They're waiting there, and I have a service that I can provide for them that's going to assist them and guide them. So do you come, I mean, honest to goodness, man, do you come from that space of contribution on every single one of your calls on how can I help this person?
Absolutely. I mean, in this business, I mean, if you're not coming from that position, people can sense it right away. I mean, there's a reason why 20% of all the agents do 80% of the business. And if you don't come from that position of service, or that's part of your brand or your mission statement, or however you're going to develop your business, I don't know that you're going to have the long-term success that a lot of agents look for, and probably a lot of people who are watching this right now are trying to model. So it's definitely a mindset that you have to have. Just like in any other service industry, if you're coming to help the client or help the consumer, people will see that, and that's really the approach that I take.
How many contacts does it take you to get an appointment?
Right now I'm at 17 contacts per one closed transaction.
Whoa, 17 per one closed transaction. Holy cow, man. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
It wasn't always that low. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of that has to do with practicing and role playing and really building my skill set. So and even trying to improve now. I mean, I'd like to get down to 7 or 8. I mean, that would certainly be a much more efficient number. So certainly I go on more. I'm converting about 70% of my listing appointments right now.
Good.
So that's around where the numbers are.
So are you still role playing now? Are you still doing? I mean, here you made $668,000 last year. Are you still doing role play? I mean, because people think that, oh, if I get to this point, I'll no longer need to role play or practice my scripts. I'll have it down. Are you still doing this?
Absolutely. It's like any other craft that you're going to work at. The daily disciplines are what keep you sharp. And I've had to be hard on myself, and Carl's been hard on me to continue with the role play. And again, it's not something I enjoy doing a lot, but I know that it's going to make me better. And the better I get, the more efficient I'll be, and the more my business is going to grow. So it's something that's, again, part of the makeup here and part of my business plan.
So there is no finish line for you. You just keep going. Remember that Nike commercial from years ago? The guy just keeps running and running. I love it. And I think it's important for all of us to understand too, is that there isn't some magic place that we're going to get to where all of a sudden we're not having to practice or we're not having to build our skills or build our mindset, because if we stop, then we start shifting backwards again. We start going the other direction. You've got a beautiful family, man. You've got your wife, 2 kids, brand new baby. You and I were jokingly talking about, like, what is sleep? How old is your daughter? How old is your daughter?
She's 8 weeks.
8 weeks, man. So how do you balance it all together? I mean, here you are, 80 transactions last year. This year's even better, isn't it? This year you're looking at blowing that out of the water, right?
Year to date, we're at 71 transactions settled and pending. GCI's a little over 600 right now, so it's only beginning of August here, so I'm really trying to zoom past that and have the same sort of percentage growth that I did last year. Balance hasn't been easy. There were times when it was rough, especially in the growth phases I had not only last year but previous years. I've scheduled time with my wife to spend time with her, especially when we were dating and getting married. Now I don't work as much, but a lot of that's because I've been able to grow my team, where I have buyer agents now. Well, that was something I didn't even have last year. I mean, and that's not that long ago. And it was hard for me to let go. I felt like I needed that business. And then once with Carl's help, he showed me that I really just need to focus on listings. The buyers will come, and you can farm that out and focus even more on listings. That's going to exponentially grow your business, and that's why I had such a big breakthrough last year. But we scheduled time together. I mean, I put it right in my calendar. It's on my iPhone, iPad. My office has it. That's really how you have to do it. I mean, this business can eat you alive if you don't manage your time. I mean, and that's been a big issue.
So do you run your day from your schedule, from your calendar? Like, is that how you go about it?
Absolutely. We have prospecting time blocked out in there. My staff knows not to really bother me when that's happening, unless there's an emergency. And when I say emergency, like a house is burning down emergency, they know not to bother me then. We have a quick meeting each day to go over what needs to happen, and I meet with the main team assistant, and then I'm on appointments in the afternoon, and if something's in there, it doesn't get moved. There's no question about it. It's a tough discipline to have, but it's something that really makes a difference.
Nice. So we're sitting down. I'm a newer agent, or I'm an agent that isn't doing the volume that you're doing, and I want to get to 20 or 30 transactions. I think that as an industry, if we as an industry were at 30 transactions per agent, oh my gosh, could you imagine just like the level of professionalism? But here I am, maybe I'm doing like 8 to 10 sales a year, and I want to go to 20 or 30. What are the key things that I've got to do to be able to make that leap?
Well, that's a big jump, number one, and you're looking at potentially doubling or tripling your business. So step one is come up with a business plan and put it in writing and tell people about it. What you can plan in that is not the results, but the actions you will take to get to those results. So, for example, one thing that Carl has been very structured with me on is I need to talk to 15 people a day, and I need to schedule 1 listing appointment. That's my daily goal. So if I hit that, I know I'm going to be in good shape. That's the same sort of measurables that I would recommend a newer agent or someone who's looking to grow their business has. What do I need to do today to make this work? So, and then you can kind of back out the plan. So in order to make 15 contacts, you spend 2 hours on the phones in the morning. That's going to lead you to X amount of transactions. But really having a plan in writing, that's such a fundamental thing in this business. And if you have the plan in writing and you stick to it and keep yourself accountable, that's going to get you where you need to be. No question about it.
So number one is have the plan. Okay, so I've created the plan. Am I going to follow it the entire time, or do I fall off? And like, do you follow your plan 100%? Because I know a lot of people are like, well, I created this plan, I created this schedule, and then it went out the window, right? So I mean, does that ever happen to you? Like when you create the plan, and if so, how do you get yourself back on track? Because I know that they may be concerned about that.
I'd love to tell you I follow it 100% of the time, but it doesn't happen, and I'll be the first one to admit it. When I get off track, that's where the affirmations are really helpful, because that keeps me focused on what I need to be doing every day to hit my goals and have the life that I want to have for myself and my family and my kids now. And so when I get off track, sometimes you catch yourself and say, geez, what am I doing here? And you realize, okay, I got off track here. It happens. I can correct this right now as long as I do what I need to do tomorrow and make it happen today and adjust accordingly. Nice. In business, you always have to adjust, but it's the mindset is staying focused on what you need to do, and that's just so key. It's having those daily disciplines.
And the plan pulls you back to it, doesn't it? I mean, when you think about it, like at least you have something to come back to versus going way off out into no man's land. What else would you recommend? So I've got the plan. I want to go to 20 transactions. I'm at 10 right now. What other things do I need to work on?
So I was a pretty young agent when I got started. I right out of college, I was selling real estate, so it wasn't like I was doing something else. I mean, I was pretty raw. One of the big things I did was look the part. You know, put on a shirt and tie every day, wear a jacket to the appointments. Looking the part, it gets you in the door. People aren't going to throw you right out, and that was a big issue I had to overcome, being so much younger than a lot of the other agents that are out there, and I still am. It's not much different in our marketplace, but coming in looking like a professional, it's such a key thing. Having the plan, looking like you should be there and you should be in the room, those are two steps that got me pretty far even before I got into coaching.
Got it.
Really the third thing is hire a coach as soon as you can. I wish I would have done this 5, 6, 7 years ago, because it's really given me the guidance that I needed to, like you said, Bill, when you kind of veer off a little bit and you don't necessarily know what to do, your coach is there for you, and they can help you because they've been through this.
Awesome, man. You know, it's interesting. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the 49ers at their practice as they're coming back, and on ESPN the Seattle Seahawks, and I think about what would those practices be like if there was no coaching around. You know what I mean? Like and these are professionals that are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, but still, even those guys have someone that's guiding them. Everyone has a mentor. So fast forward 5 years from now, where's Tom Toole? Where do we see you in 5 years? What does your business look like? Let's see the inspiration, brother.
5 years from now, this is something I've talked about with Carl. Want to have a larger team. Right now we're at it's myself. We have 3 admin and 2 buyers agents. So I'd like to see somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 agents. Looking to do over 250 units a year.
Good. And
I'm at a point where I'm going on listing appointments, getting the listings, and letting my team handle the rest. That's where I'd like to be, because that's what I'm best at, is bringing in the business, and that's what keeps the whole thing running.
I love it, man. Yeah, leaning on your own strengths and letting your team do the same thing. Well, brother, first of all, thank you on many different levels because of, taking your time multiple times and us getting this, and I really appreciate it. You know what I love? This is going to be an interview that I go back and listen to myself again and again and again, because there's some tips I want to share with the people that I coach that I gained from you from the expired perspective. And I think that if everyone does go back and listens to this, as their market shifts and it changes and the expireds come back up, we'll be more prepared, we'll be more excited, and also have the skills in place to be able to do that. If you need scripts, dialogues, things along those lines, please go to tomferry.com. There's free downloads for all the scripts that Tom was talking about, as well as if you've got some type of an interest in terms of, finding out what coaching is all about, if it's a good fit for you, we'd love to be able to actually make that available for you as well, too. Otherwise, take this information. Go do something with it. Information isn't power. Information is potential power. Action is what creates the power. So, again, Tom, thank you, brother. Anything you want to say to them closing off?
Well, if I can help anyone personally, I gave you my contact information again. Again, it's my website, tomtoole.com with an E. I'd love to help anyone out there because paying it back is really something that coaching's all about. And if you don't use the resources there, not only with the coaches but also the other clients, you're really missing out.
Love it, man. Well, thank you again for that, and thank all of you for taking time out to actually spend time with us here for Real Success, where you're getting real agents like Tom, you're getting real strategies, and finding out the real success that they're doing. So until we talk to you again, keep your mind focused on the future, where you're going, keep your actions right here in the present, and keep on moving forward, keep on being powerful. This is Bill Pipes signing off. Thanks again for another Real Success. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.